My name is Angela.
My name is Nicole.
And welcome to the Ominous Stitch podcast. Hello, Stitchers!
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Ominous Stitch podcast.
Yeah.
I'm so excited because I didn't know what today's episode is about.
My favorite way to do this.
Yeah, she told me, but I don't know the subject material, so I'm like so excited.
I'm excited.
I kind of have a hint because of the movie that we watched.
Yes.
But I know my Stitch has nothing to do with anything.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
No,
so
I
I'm
love
off
that.
theme. But
no,
anyway.
don't worry about it.
Yay.
No, I like it when it's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
And you're going to love this. And I wanted to do this justice, and it took so much time and effort to research it.
Oh, I can't wait for story time.
I'm going to give it all. But yeah, it's going to be fun.
Oh, good. Good.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of this.
I don't know. I'm in the dark on a lot of things, though.
That's okay. That's why I get to bring you to the light.
Yay.
Yeah.
So Nicole, what has you in stitches this week?
I totally forgot. So we did theaters last week, right?
Yes.
Okay. So totally forgot to mention. I put the movie that we reviewed right this week, and my husband's like, look at this. I'm like, what is it? It's like, there's my name. And I'm like, okay, and scroll up. So I scrolled up, and it's Crimson Peak. So my hubs worked on the movie at some point.
Yes, he
and
did.
I thought that was so cool. And I forgot to mention that because he did kind of hint that at one point. And I totally forgot. So that made me happy.
Way to go. He's so good.
Yes.
He's so good at what he does.
He's really good. He gets more credit than he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, anytime I watch a show that I know that he's worked on, that you've told me he's worked on, I'm like, yay! I get so excited. And he works in sound. I very much pay attention to the sound of those episodes. I'm like, what's going on?
It kind of ruins it a little bit though when we watch movies.
Because you're listening for certain.
He talks over the movies and he goes, oh, that's ADR. Oh, that's really bad ADR. Oh, and he just talks the whole time. Sometimes he ruins it. Not all the time.
Oh, he must hate my work then, because I'm not very good at what I do.
No, not at all. No, what's funny is, I don't know, your husband's different. My husband doesn't want to listen to the podcast.
Really?
Because it's like my voice. I get it though, because I'm the same way with him. Like, I don't want to always have to listen. He's like, I hear your voice and it's just weird. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
That's so funny.
Whatever, it's cool. But he supports me. He just doesn't like. He get it.
He supports you, but in his own way. He doesn't want to listen to you. He gets enough of you at home. No, I'm just
that's
kidding.
what it is. I bet that's what it is. So it's okay.
Matt, you should give us a listen.
I understand. I totally get it. But
my hubs listens. It makes me happy.
Yeah,
like,
opposite. Yeah, but that's okay. No, but I don't feel like I'm not supported.
Okay,
it's just good. I totally understand him. I hate listening to myself sometimes, so I understand. So it's cool. But yeah, he worked on Crimson Peak.
Yay!
And that was such a fun movie that we got to watch.
Shout out to Matt. Yay!
Yeah. So what got you in stitches?
I don't know. I'm so tired of this weather. I hope it's done. But oh my gosh,
California.
It's so weird for California. All these atmospheric rivers, that's what they're called, right? Where the rain just comes in and we're so waterlogged.
We've never had this wet of a winter, and now it's spring, and
it's still winter. It was frosty this morning. My alpacas were all frosted over this morning. There was frost everywhere, all over the place on the farm.
No, that's not cool.
Yeah, it was in the 30s. It took me 5 minutes to get my car warmed up before I was able to go.
I kept telling my coworkers yesterday, why didn't this winter happen during COVID?
Right?
Because then we would have all been inside. Yeah. We would have been happy. We wouldn't have to go anywhere because we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And it's raining like crazy. I'm like, yeah, that would have been great. But no, it happened now.
Yeah.
We're all expecting to be outside. And it's spring break for most people.
And this is the most, I have a farm now. So being outside is something that happens all of the time.
Outside,
and this weather, I'm like, what is going on? I can't know.
Are your chickens okay?
Yeah, the chickens are great. They're loving it.
They don't care.
They don't care. If
They're
it
covered
rains,
usually.
Yeah,
anyway.
if it rains, they have their places of shelter to go to. And we have a lot of trees, so they bury themselves in the trees.
Oh, good.
Or they go inside their coop, or, they have places that they hide.
And they're cool.
They're totally unbothered by it.
The alpaca?
The alpaca will go into their shelter if they're too annoyed by the rain.
Annoyed.
But yeah, they get annoyed by it. But then they get annoyed being together in a small space in the shelter. So then one will just wander out. They're like, whatever, I'm just going to go get wet. It's fine.
I'd rather be in the rain.
And they're so funny. And then their enclosure or their paddock gets pretty muddy. Because it's sandy, and so it gets pretty muddy, and then it's like walking through peanut butter when you go in there to try to like clean anything out or change their food.
And the alpaca poop and
the alpaca poop. Sometimes it piles up because I can't get out there because of the rain.
Poor alpaca.
Not fun. Well, they're
okay.
They're good. They're happy. They're out in the sunshine right now, basking in it. They love it.
It's cold but sunny, at least.
Cold but sunny, yes. And I'm trying to grow things, which I've never done.
Going?
I have one of the seeds that I planted that is growing.
Woo!
Huzzah!
One! Yeah.
I planted like 50, but I have one that's growing.
That's why you gotta plant 50.
Oh my goodness! I don't know. So I gotta get out and figure that out, and then battling all the weeds that are popping up everywhere. Because of the rain. So fun farm life, but I'm so done with the rain. I'm so done with my son's baseball being canceled, and now we have we have so many makeup games to go to now.
It's gonna go until overtime.
Oh my
so
goodness! He's gonna have like 3 or 4 games a week sometimes, plus practices, and so it's just he's gonna love it. Oh my gosh, so much time at the baseball field, but he loves it, so that's good. At least I'm not dragging into something that he hates.
That's true. I hate that. I really hate that. So good. I'm glad he's still enjoying it.
He's still enjoying it. Good. So I'm over the rain.
I'm sorry.
Let's go back to Southern California weather and get some sunshine going.
I'm kind of hesitant because it just gets so hot. It goes from cold to hot, and I don't want that. I want like 70s. I want nice spring, not summer of 100 degrees. I am ready for 70s. Let's just do that. How about that? Can we
I like the 70s. Okay. It's a good decade.
It's a great decade for you.
That's when I was born.
Yay! Well, I have a lot to talk about.
Okay, so should we get to it then? So should we get stitching? Yeah, I can't wait to show you the stitch because I kept this a surprise too. I guess that's the theme. The theme is surprise. Surprise. Okay, so let's get stitching.
Yes.
Okay, Stitchers. So for today's stitch, since I didn't know what our story time was, I'm like, I'm just gonna go rogue and go off theme.
Good.
Look how stinking cute that is. What is it, Nicole? What did I give you? What is it?
It's so cute.
It's a little tea bag.
Amigurumi tea bag. It is. And it's got the cutest smile and the biggest eyes. I love it when the eyes are big.
Yes.
And it's got a little tag.
It does have a little tag on it. Isn't that cute? I had to hide this from my youngest because she definitely would steal it. Oh my gosh.
I would have stolen this.
So fast.
Is adorable.
That's for you.
I didn't even know you could do this. This is so cute.
Isn't that cute? Oh. So what I just gave Nicole, let me tell you guys, I'm walking through it.
Adorable.
So I found this idea when I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found this video that is 15 free stash busting crochet ideas.
Stash
crochet. Yeah. So if you have a ton of yarn, that's like a bunch of scraps, because this is a small project.
I see that. I always throw it away. I have so much.
No. Save your scraps. You can make a bunch of these tea bags.
I love it.
Because these take like 10 minutes. They're so fast.
It's adorable.
They're so fast.
And it's a bookmark. Guys, this is so cute. Oh.
So this idea came from Le Petite Saint Crochet. So she has 15 stash busting crochet projects. Oh. That video is so cute. I want to make everything that she listed on it. It's so cute.
Send me the
we'll
link
it. Yeah. So. We'll link it.
Yeah.
And so this was one of her ideas. And this is from the Cozy Chipmunk. The Cozy Chipmunk. I'm going to show Nicole. Look. She has a bunch of different ones. So I tried to make you green tea, although that's the wrong color for green tea. But
so cute.
It's cute. It's kind of a green Earl Grey tea mix.
Yes, there you go. It's a mix. It's a combo. It's good.
But if you go to thecozychipmunk.com, And you can look up Lil Tea Bag, Lil Tea Bag, Lil Tea Bag. And it's this cute little free pattern that it just takes you how to make these little tea bags. They're amigurumi. They are so simple.
It looks very easy because they're small.
Easy. And they're so small. And it takes literally like 10 minutes. Look, and you can make a little cup with it.
I make those too. So
I know
perfect.
you do. Isn't that cute? So that's it for stitch time. It's super quick.
That's so easy, but I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, I want to make a million of these. This is like really good idea because I keep thinking of things like if you want to make a bunch for like, like a classroom or teachers.
For teachers, it's a perfect little teacher gift.
Or coworkers.
Or coworker. It's a bookmark.
Yeah.
So you can make, the string for the tea bag is the bookmark, obviously. Yeah. And so you can make that as long as you want. You put it in the book. And
I love it.
It's super fun, super cute, super easy.
This one mine?
That's yours. That's for you.
Yay!
You always give me presents. I need to give you stuff.
You make them at things.
Yes. If you guys want a little tea bag, you guys can become a patron. We'll send you stuff.
We probably will be sending one of these.
Yeah, because they're so cute, guys. I can't wait to show you on if you hop over to any of our socials, you'll get to see a picture of him. He's so cute. Mm-hmm. Yay.
Well, thank you, Angela.
You're welcome. So the cozychipmunk.com.
Cozy Chipmunk.
Little tea bag. Make 1 or 20 for your closest friends.
Yes.
They take no time to make. They're super fun and super cute and
they're
super
really
easy.
Cute. And they're like little, you can make these as stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
I love it.
You can do all kinds of things.
So
they're
excited.
so cute.
I'll make a million of them.
So that's it.
Okay.
Are we ready for story time?
I'm totally ready for story time.
Okay. Story time.
So as I mentioned, this story today is crazy. It's true. You can believe them or not.
Okay.
Because, I'm going to lay it all out for you, but you tell me at the end what you think, okay?
Okay. Do I have my skeptic pants on or my believer pants on?
Yeah, exactly. You got to just decide what to believe, but I'm going to give you all the details.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So we are going to discuss the most influential in terms of science fiction and first well-documented UFO encounter in the United States.
Ooh, it's aliens. It's aliens.
This is the case of Betty and Barney Hill, or if you want to believe, refer to the Zeta Reticuli incident. And I'll go into detail about that.
Okay.
The year is 1961.
Okay.
And we are in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We are with interracial couple Barney and Betty Hill. And I'm going to show Angela lots of photos. I will post as many as I can on socials too. But we're going to do a little historical background on both of them before we continue. Okay. Eunice Betty Barrett was born in Kingston, New Hampshire in 1919. Her lineage is said to be traced at least a century of relatives living in New Hampshire. So they're pretty well settled.
Well established.
Yeah. She had a very normal upbringing and graduated from the University of New Hampshire, then went on to become a social worker and child advocate. She was married, but then divorced, and she did have 2 adopted children before meeting Barney. Barney Hill was born in Newport News, Virginia in 1923. Barney joined the U.S. Army, served in World War II. When he returned, he became a postal worker in Philadelphia. He was also married, and he had his own 2 children. But years later, Barney met Betty on a trip visiting New Hampshire after separating from his wife. They fell in love, and Barney was able to move to a post office position in New Hampshire. Later, he had taken a post office job in Boston, so he would drive over an hour there and back when he had to go to work, but he was totally fine with it.
Aw.
Okay? So
how much he loved her. Yay.
Yeah. Both Betty and Barney were active in their local Unitarian congregation, and both were also members of the NAACP. Barney sat on a local board of the United States Commission on Civil Rights, and Betty's job had her seeing roughly over 100 clients, so to say they were busy is an understatement.
Right. But they seem like a very
wholesome,
well-meaning,
great,
wholesome,
yes,
great,
smart.
Yeah.
Very, very reliable. Everybody knew them. They were great people.
AK not crazy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And as for the character, as you can see how busy and righteous they are, Betty is described as strong-willed and Barney intelligent, as he is known to have an IQ of around 140.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
very intelligent
very
people.
Intelligent.
Very, yep.
Lots of photos. See?
Yep.
So.
All American.
Yep.
Great. Like, you know,
good
stand-up couple.
Yeah. They wanted they wanted to support the community. Very into civil rights movement. Very good couple.
Yes.
Okay. They were such a busy and engaging couple that it took roughly a year for the Hills to finally get away to take a short, spontaneous honeymoon. They decide to take a weekend trip to Montreal, and it's so spur of the moment, they didn't even have time to get to a bank to pull out cash. And by the way, I'm very thankful for debit cards, Venmo, and everything in between.
Oh, my gosh, right? Yes.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, I forgot how you had to go to a bank all the time or had checks, even checks.
Yeah,
checks
traveler's checks.
Yeah.
Go to the bank, pull it. Yes, yes. I remember that very well. When I first started, becoming financially independent,
right?
I was always going to the bank to deposit my paychecks. Because we didn't have
to reorder checks all the time. I hated writing checks, but that's how we paid for everything.
Paid for checks. I didn't have a credit card for the longest time because I was scared of credit cards.
Good for you.
So I didn't want one because I was like, I don't want to be in debt. I just want to know whatever money I have, that's how much money I have. That's how much money I'm going to spend. I didn't have a credit card until, oh my gosh, I think I was probably close to 30 was when I got my first credit card. I would use a debit card, but
Smart. That was not me. Well, that was the opposite.
No, I was just terrified.
Smart.
Terrified
That's
of credit
really
cards.
good.
Yep. And I think with my first credit card, I would pay it off really quick. So as soon as I put anything money, at the end of every month, it was paid off. There wasn't anything. Yeah. I always paid it off.
Well, good for you.
Yep. I don't know how. I think my dad put that fear in my brain, like never be in debt. So yeah,
good upbringing. I'm the opposite. My parents were not that great. I'm better now, but man, that was tough. So when they did take their trip, they only had $70 in their pocket by the time they left. Saturday, September 16th, they pack everything. Betty packs a pistol just in case of an emergency. Well, because they didn't want to, in case, because this is a spontaneous trip, maybe they have to pull over at some point to just like relax or something. Just in case.
Okay.
They have a pistol.
All right. Oh. Always with the gun and the alien encounters. I'm just saying.
You never know. Right?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh, and don't forget, they have a pup named Delcy the Dachshund.
Delcy the Dachshund.
And she comes along as well.
Aw, I love little dachshunds. They're so cute.
Dachshunds. So Sunday morning, the Hills take off and they have a really nice honeymoon. They spend time in Vermont, Niagara Falls. They visit 1,000 islands and they get to see Toronto. And here's a little photo.
She's petting like a horse or a donkey or something.
Little horsey, yeah. Then Tuesday, September 19th.
Okay.
This is the big day. While in Montreal, they get lost, even though they were thinking of staying the night. But soon, they hear on the radio that a tropical storm is making its way to the East Coast, and Betty and Barney figure they should just leave back for home to buckle down for the storm. It's getting really late, and they figure they'll just drive into the evening hours as the night was still clear. So it wasn't raining yet. Everything was pretty chill.
Right. So let's see how far we can go until the rain comes, and we'll stop somewhere.
Maybe. Yeah. But they're going to try to rush past that so they can get
home.
It's about 10:30 p.m. U.S. Route 3. Supposedly, it's just a really quiet time on the highway. Like, there's not many people out. I think they're like alone most of the time.
10:30 at night on a Tuesday. Yeah.
1961.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
So they're making their way through Lancaster, New Hampshire, when suddenly Betty looks up and sees something. Something sort of odd. She tells Barney she sees a bright point of light in the sky that moved from below the moon and the planet Jupiter. So she does clearly see that planet. And then it kind of moves upwards towards the moon. At first, she thinks it's a falling star, but she's confused because it moves upward.
Oh, yeah. See, falling stars usually
goes down.
Fall.
Yeah. Then it became bigger and brighter.
Oh.
It's so mesmerizing that she makes Barney pull over at a picnic area to observe it. And at this point, they're south of Twin Mountain. They get out of their car, Barney takes Delcy for a walk, and Betty takes out their binoculars to follow the object. She later reported It changed direction and passed in front of the moon. I was puzzled, for this satellite was flashing multicolored lights that cast several beams like a police cruiser. To the naked eye, Barney looked up and thought it was just a satellite and scoffed at Betty's idea that it might be a flying saucer.
It sounds a lot like what they saw in England with the different colored lights.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The military base in England. What was that?
Rendlesham.
Yes, Rendlesham.
Yeah. Sounds exactly like that. Exactly.
It does, yeah.
When Betty gave him the binoculars for viewing, he changed his mind to a commercial airliner that was traveling toward Vermont, most likely with the final destination of Montreal. Yet, as he was watching, he quickly changed his mind because suddenly and mysteriously, the craft rapidly descended in Barney's direction.
Oh, no. Nope.
Nope. It spooks Barney a little.
Oh, my goodness.
Who hurried them back into the car, and they continued on the dirt isolated road because they were just so fascinated by the object that they followed it.
Oh, wow.
This object, though, is coming at them even closer. And at one point, it passes above a restaurant and signal tower on top of Cannon Road. The object wasn't making any noise. In fact, it was very quiet.
Ooh.
When the flying object came out near the old man of the mountain, which looks like that. See,
that's crazy.
They have a lot of crazy landmarks. I'm showing you a picture.
Okay. It looks like an old man's face in the side of the mountain.
Silhouette
Oh, that's
face,
crazy.
yeah.
That reminds me of Frozen 2 with the land.
With the giant.
Yeah, the giants.
Yeah. So it cut near that mountain, and Betty relayed that it was at least 1.5 times the length of the granite cliff profile, which was 40 feet long. The object also seemed to be rotating. It was moving erratically and bouncing around. They are now back on U.S. Route 3. And remember, it's the middle of the night and no one else is on the highway.
Right. Okay.
They're driving slowly to keep an eye on the object of the sky. And once they reach another geologic landmark, it's called Indian Head. And I didn't put a picture in here, but it looks just like a head of an Indian.
Okay.
Yep. The object then descended over their vehicle, forcing them to stop because they cannot see in front of them.
Oh, wow.
Barney stops the car in the middle of the highway and, quite shaken, decides to take out his binoculars and gun just in case and gets out of the car. Barney walks roughly 100 feet into a field next to the highway. The flying object is now only 100 feet above their 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air and 300 feet away. And it, quote unquote, filled the entire field of view in the windshield.
Wow.
Barney claimed it reminded him of a huge pancake. Just a big flat thing.
That's cool,
right?
Yeah.
When he viewed the object with the binoculars, he could make out 8 to 11 beings lining these large rectangular windows as they observed his approach. Okay, so
oh no.
yeah. So just real quick, note some of these details that I'm putting in here, which I'm going to talk about a lot more later. He was under hypnosis when he discussed some of this, so I just want to give you some details.
Okay,
and then
so back. When you're under hypnosis, your clarity is
a lot more.
Yeah,
better.
You're more clear.
Yeah,
your clarity is a lot more better.
Yep. That's redundant.
We talk really well.
We're great. Words. Okay. So Barney described one of the beings that stood out from the others and looked like a military pilot.
Ooh, okay.
And Barney is quoted, "I looked at him and he looked at me."
But did he look like Barney?
I'll tell you soon.
Okay.
The other figures around the pilot moved in unison towards a rear wall panel that encircled the front portion of the craft, but the pilot or leader was what Barney fixated on. The creatures were described as humanoids who wore shiny black uniforms and black caps. They were hairless and gray in color with eyes that wrapped around their head. The leader was supposedly distinct from the other figures. This leader then communicated to Barney telepathically, "Stay where you are and keep looking."
What?
Then red lights on the craft's batwing-like fins began to telescope out of the sides, and a long structure descended from the bottom. This really frightened Barney.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He ran back to the car, flung himself in, and yelled to Betty that the beings of the flying object wanted to capture them.
What? But that's not what the guy said to him telepathically. He just said, stay where you are.
And keep looking. Why?
And keep looking. Well, I don't
if
know.
You stay where you are, they can capture you easier.
But, oh, okay. Okay.
He asked Betty.
His IQ is probably higher than mine, so yeah.
Well, he's sensing this.
Yeah. Okay.
He asked Betty to keep an eye on the flying object, and Barney punched the accelerator and took off down the highway.
Okay.
Betty rolled down her window to continue watching the flying object, and even though they're booking it, the craft is keeping pace and soon over the car.
Oh, no.
Abruptly, the series of rhythmic pulsing, beeping, and buzzing sounds amidst all around them and in their car. The sounds penetrate their bodies soon.
Oh, yes. Okay. When it's like when you get close to a speaker and the sound, your body starts thudding with that. Yeah. Ooh.
This is a drawing.
Ooh. Okay.
That they did. Okay.
Interesting.
So this is a drawing. I'm
Okay.
gonna show Angela a drawing of
the flying saucer.
Yeah, so Betty drew this. And so this is how it looked. And then when those red lights popped out, that's what it looked like.
Like it had bat wings.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
this is so interesting, Nicole. This is so cool. Why did I not know any of this?
I'm saying. I thought you
know.
would. It's crazy. This is where both Betty and Barney claim to have lost consciousness because as soon as they came around, Barney was still driving the car. Betty is in the passenger side, and they were only roughly 35 miles from where they remember being. They pull up to their home in Portsmouth around 5:30 a.m. If they were driving from where the point they passed out, they should have reached their home hours ago. So what happened to the missing time?
No. Oh, no.
They were both exhausted and really confused as they entered their home, so they lay down and slept for a few hours. Once they woke up, Betty noticed some strange things about her blue dress she was wearing from the night before. She had only worn this dress twice, but the zipper was broken, the lining was torn at the hem, and there was a pink powdery substance and discoloration all over.
Oh my gosh.
Betty decided to first hang her dress on her outside clothesline where the pink powder blew away, and seeing all the damage, she just decided, I'm going to throw it away. Then she changed her mind, retrieved the dress, and hung it in her closet. We're going to come back to the dress.
Okay. I got chills. This is crazy,
Right?
Nicole.
For Barney, the straps to his binoculars were broken, and his shoes that were kept in excellent condition had scrapes that he couldn't explain. Both of their watches had stopped. They couldn't recollect how all of these changes to their clothing and personal affects had appeared. Mm-hmm. Also, both Betty and Barney had some very strange behaviors and impulses that they couldn't really explain. For example, Betty would insist on keeping their luggage near the back door rather than the main part of the house. Barney was compelled to examine his genitals in the bathroom, yet found nothing out of the ordinary. They both agreed something happened and both decided to take a shower to remove possible contamination and also drew their own pictures of what they had observed. Both agreed that after they heard the buzzing sounds, they couldn't recall anything and figured their memories were both incomplete. So at first, Barney told Betty not to tell anyone what happened.
Yeah, because they don't want to seem crazy. They're very logical, very intellectual people.
Yes.
And this makes no sense.
Yes.
It's so far out of the
together.
norm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have no reference for this.
But because Betty's strong-willed,
yes.
She ignored him. She did speak to close friends and relatives.
Well, she's a social worker.
Exactly.
She's a social person.
She wants to talk
She
to
needs
people.
to be able to talk and get it out. Yeah.
And she needs to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. That makes so much sense to me.
Betty was very worried about radioactivity or contamination.
Yeah.
So she ends up calling her mother and asks her to call their neighbor, who they knew was a physicist, to see what to do. He told Betty through the grapevine to take a compass and bring it outside to the car to see how the needle reacts. This advice would lead all of us to believe that he knew something about UFOs, since the compass would measure magnetism, not radiation.
Yes.
So the physicist is onto something.
Okay.
So reluctantly, Barney went outside to check the car. And what he noticed on the trunk were these silver dollar-sized shiny circles. They were the same color of the car, just shiny.
Huh.
And it wasn't just a couple. There were close to over a dozen, maybe almost 20 of them, randomly scattered.
Weird.
Barney took out the compass, placed them over the circles, and immediately the needle spun around quickly and erratically.
Oh.
But when Barney moved the compass away from the circles, the needle would just fall and remain steady.
Oh my gosh, no. That's crazy.
At one point, Betty's niece, sister, and mother visited and looked at the shiny spots. The niece even tried to she was trying to touch them, rub them off, but they wouldn't move. And they're like, no, don't do that.
Don't touch it, yeah.
They immediately believed their story once they saw these circles and
couldn't
explain them.
Yeah.
A few days later, they decided to report their incident to the U.S. Air Force. The closest Air Force base was Pease Air Force Base. And they also told Walter Webb, a member of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, or NICAP, and he was also an astronomer. Mm-hmm. The Air Force did report their story to Project Blue Book, but alas, that's all they did.
Oh, no further investigation. They're like, okay, here's another UFO story for you, Blue Book.
Yeah, but they just didn't really believe them. They kind of were like, oh, we'll report it, but sorry. However, though, this other source did say that at 2:14 a.m., a radar on Pease Air Force Base did track an unidentified craft, which is when Betty believes the UFO had left. But again, this was kind of just covered up.
Oh, so frustrating, Nicole. So frustrating.
10 days after the traumatic experience, Betty began to have vivid nightmares for 5 nights consecutively.
Oh, man. Betty, she's reliving everything that happened.
Exactly. These dreams were extremely intense and very detailed that she couldn't stop thinking of them during her waking hours. She confided with Barney, and he was very sympathetic, but at the same time sort of brushed them off as just bad dreams. Barney's like, eh. Betty also shared her dreams with her best friend, and she encouraged Betty to record her dreams by writing them out.
I think I'm not sure if Barney was so meh, okay, bad dream. I think he was just this is what I need to do to compartmentalize what happened. Mm-hmm. And it's just a dream. It's,
Barney and Betty are very different. Yeah. Betty is trying to figure this out.
She's trying to process everything. And Barney's let's shove it down.
Yes. And that's kind of a stereotypical, I think, male female versus female.
Yeah.
How they do that.
Women need to talk it out and process and work through it. And men are just nope.
No, it never happened.
We're just, sweep it under the rug.
Exactly. Details that included the capture and experience on the craft as well as the examination were in her dreams.
Oh, wow.
She also recounted that in one dream, Barney and her were driving when they encountered a roadblock and men surrounded their car. She lost consciousness but fought to regain it, and when she did, she realized she was being forced by 2 small men to walk in a forest at night. She was able to turn and see Barney walking beside her. She called out to him, but he seemed to be in a trance-like state. She described the men as standing about 5 feet to 5 feet 4 inches tall. That's my height. Yay. Wearing matching blue uniforms and caps similar to those worn by military cadets. She thought they were nearly human, had black hair, dark eyes, prominent noses, and bluish lips, but their skin was a grayish color. Betty and Barney were taken to their car, where the leader suggested they sit and wait to watch the craft's departure. They did wait, and then once it was gone, resumed their drive home.
Okay, so real quick, the description you just gave me of what the creatures they look like, they reminded me of Galaxy Quest. What are they called?
I forgot, but I love that movie.
I love Galaxy Quest.
Oh, they're so fun.
The Thermidians or whatever.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Tim Allen called them the Thermidors.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's not what they were. That's not what they are. He just couldn't say what they were. He would call them Thermidors. Or Thermaphrodites or something. I don't know. But oh my gosh.
What a fun movie.
I love Galaxy Quest.
A really good movie.
That is so good. It's so fun. But that's what they.
That's funny.
But that's the description because they have black hair and they have kind of like grayish skin and bluish lips.
Well, Galaxy Quest probably got a little bit.
They probably got that from
a lot of just current UFO like media, TV, movies, books, things. I'll talk about it some more, but it's really a lot based on this one encounter.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So I think this is where Galaxy Quest designed their aliens.
Probably.
Yeah. Oh,
but
what?
just a quick note, and I'll totally talk about this too, is that her dreams are not 100% accurate, and you're going to see that soon, but it's very close. Okay.
Well, it makes sense because in your dreams, you're trying to reconcile the information that was taken in for the day.
And then you're trying to fill in blanks.
Your brain will fill in blanks and make things different. Yeah.
All right. Walter Webb was compelled to meet the Hills. Remember, he's a member of NICAP.
Yes.
And he interviewed them on October 21st, 1961. So roughly, about
a month later.
Yeah. For 6 hours, the Hills relayed everything they could recall of their encounter. Apparently, Barney developed a mental block, possibly because there were parts of his encounter that he did not want to remember.
Yes.
But definitely gave details of what the craft looked like and that the figures on the craft were somehow not human. Webb concluded that the Hills were telling the truth and that probably almost everything was accurate except for maybe exact details like time, sizes, distances, etc. that are always hard to recount due to human error.
Right.
So he believed him.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yay. They finally have somebody that's like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's look
Prominent
into this.
people of this community, really accurate details of, and they're being as honest as they can. It doesn't seem like they're trying to make up a story to get attention.
Right.
Remember, they didn't even want to tell anybody at first.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Well, soon after, NICAP members C.D. Jackson and Robert E. Holman interviewed the Hills again. When Betty and Barney mentioned the missing hours upon their return to their Portsmouth home, they brought up the concept of missing time, since the trip should have taken 4 hours, but was actually a 7-hour trip, roughly. And then
3 hours.
Yeah. So for those that do not know the missing time theory, I'm just going to go into it. This is actually a common reoccurrence for those who claim to have been abducted by aliens. Okay. The abductees are eventually returned to where they were abducted, and all memories of the abduction tend to disappear, and so does the time.
Like Flight of the Navigator, but he was gone for like 8 years.
That's right. Oh, that poor kid.
I love Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah, my husband and I watched that. We love that.
It's so good.
They also suggested hypnosis in order to fill in the blank memories they couldn't recall. Even though Barney was hesitant, he agreed it may help both of them, especially Betty, since she had those intense dreams. So before seeking outside help, Betty and Barney decided to continuously visit the White Mountains where the experience happened to see if it would refresh their memories. They went on multiple trips, but with no success. Then about 1.5 years later, Barney and Betty broke their silence and gave details about their abduction during a meeting at their church.
Oh, okay.
Then later that year, Air Force Captain Ben H. Sweat gave a presentation to their church about hypnosis. Afterwards, the Hill approached Sweat and asked if he could perform hypnosis to gain their lost memories, but he thought he was too amateur for what they needed. Barney then went to a psychiatrist where he mentioned he had a troubling ulcer. He's been so stressed.
Oh,
he's developed an ulcer, and brought up the UFO encounter. His psychiatrist linked the experience with his ulcer, so he recommended Dr. Benjamin Simon in Boston, an expert in therapeutic hypnosis. He was the top of this at this point because this is all brand new back then.
Right, yeah.
They all met for the first time in December, and of course, Dr. Simon was very skeptical at first, to say the least. So the first half of 1964, so like 6 months roughly,
right?
Dr. Simon put the Hills under hypnosis multiple times, but in separate sessions in order to make sure they weren't feeding each other and to make sure their individual stories would remain distinct. After every session, Dr. Simon made sure to reinstate amnesia. What shocked Dr. Simon? Both Barney and Betty displayed frightening memories of their alleged encounters, both describing in detail what happened during their examinations on the alien craft and their eventual release. He was able to help Betty realize her dreams were a little different than the actual events that occurred relayed under hypnosis. But they both shared very similar details of the abduction, and both were under extreme emotional distress.
Oh, wow. Is that them under hypnosis?
Yeah,
there?
So this one is just them kind of demonstrating from together because, right, most of those sessions were alone. Okay.
Yeah.
Barney's experience on September 19th, 1961 seemed much more stressful than Betty's.
Uh-oh.
At first, he begged Dr. Simon under hypnosis not to recall the memories, but he broke through that mental block.
Oh my gosh, Barney.
Barney recalled that his binocular strap broke while running back to the car when he realized what the aliens were planning to do. While trying to drive away from the aliens, he felt an irresistible urge to pull off the road and drive into the woods. When he did this, he noticed a large ball of light to the side of him, and he saw 6 men standing in the dirt road.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The car apparently stalled, and 3 of the men approached the car.
Oh.
They tried to calm Barney down and told him not to fear them, but this didn't help.
Do not fear me.
Oh, gosh. Then the leader told Barney to close his eyes. And while under hypnosis, Barney stated, "I felt like the eyes had pushed into my eyes, and all I see are these eyes. I'm not even afraid that they're not connected to a body. They're just there. They're just up close to me, pressing against my eyes."
So there's other eyeballs that are pressing up against his eyes.
Yeah, when he closed his eyes, that's how he felt.
That there's just eyeballs on his eyes. Oh, that's so weird, man.
Yep. While his eyes were closed, the beings carried Barney through the woods, holding onto him on either side, and he believed he felt going up a slight incline, and at that point, Barney was afraid to open his eyes.
Uh-oh. Barney
mentions that the beings were speaking in a language that he did not understand, but when they tried to communicate with him, it was more of quote-unquote thought transference. Barney was unfamiliar with the word telepathy.
Oh, wow.
Barney is told to remove his clothes, and both Barney and Betty were asked to climb up on a metal table on separate rooms, but they were so short that Barney's legs hung over the side. Barney was so afraid and thought that if he kept quiet, he wouldn't be harmed. Barney felt them examining his spine and taking skin samples and even collecting sperm. Like they felt something, but yeah,
wow.
He just felt that collection.
Wow.
He doesn't mention the exam as ever being painful, though. For Betty under hypnosis, she gives vivid details of the evening of September 19th, 1961. Barney turned a sharp corner and immediately saw men in the road as well as a big, bright, glowing orb in the woods. Betty's confused, asking Barney what's happening, and Barney responds, "It's them." Betty is extremely frightened at this point, bolts from the car and tries to escape, but is caught immediately by the aliens. She then remembers being escorted onto the aircraft. On board, the aliens are trying to communicate to her that she has nothing to fear. They want to do a few tests and then send them back out. But Betty doesn't trust them. She attempts to kick one of the aliens holding her, causing the hem of her dress to rip.
Oh, Betty!
But they immediately regain control of her, and they take her to what looks like an examination room that had curved walls and a large light hanging from the ceiling. They took Barney, as I mentioned earlier, into a separate examination room. Once she gets in, there is a being Betty calls the examiner and asks her to take off her dress. Because they try to do it, they didn't know how to. And they help her as she explains that there's a zipper in the back of her dress. And then she takes off her shoes.
And the zipper was broken, right?
Yes. Because they were trying to do it.
And they didn't know how.
Then they start examining her spine as well while she's laying on her stomach. They take skin samples and then they roll her onto her back. And this is where it gets even more frightening for Betty.
Oh, Betty.
The examiner whips out this huge, long needle. Betty starts freaking out and is yelling at them to don't do it. It's going to hurt. Do not use it. What is this for? She's yelling at them. They claim it's just a pregnancy test and it won't hurt. But once they stick it into her belly button, she feels intense pain and
Betty.
starts screaming and yelling that it hurts. But the leader who's watching on the side comes to her side, waves his hand over her eyes, and tells her she will be all right and she won't feel it. And sure enough, Betty claims all the pain went away.
Wow. That's crazy, Nicole.
I know. She said she was still sore where the needle entered her body, but she was so confused why they needed to do that.
Through her belly button?
Through her belly button.
That's,
yeah.
This is, oh my gosh, this is like so interesting. I have so many questions going through my brain right now. Keep going. This is, like, I'm so excited.
When they finished examining Betty, the aliens rushed into her examination room seemingly excited. They showed Betty Barney's teeth, awestruck.
What?
Supposedly, Betty laughed and explained to the beings that Barney had dentures because humans aged, and the beings struggled to understand that. So they removed his dentures, thinking that all his teeth were removable, and they thought it was such a cool thing.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's such a weird detail to have pop up and look at the teeth.
Look at the teeth. Yep. But yeah, Barney had dentures.
That's crazy. This is so crazy, Nicole.
I know. This is why I love this story.
Oh, I love it.
At some point afterwards, Betty was left alone with the leader, and she had asked where they had come from, where they had flown. The leader joked with her, saying, "If you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point in telling you where I am."
What?
Yeah. But the leader did show her a map because they don't know in the universe. They're obviously come from very far away.
Right.
And we're still... We don't even know our universe.
Yeah.
So that's what he's joking about.
Okay.
The leader did show her a map where they had come from. And in one of Betty's later hypnosis sessions, she was able to draw the same star map.
Oh, that's cool.
At some point, Betty and the examiner were talking, and they agreed to give her a book to bring to Earth with her. But then the other crew members vetoed that decision.
Aw, man.
Yeah. Overall, Betty's interaction with the beings seemed to be more cordial and friendly, and Barney was more stressed and fearful.
Barney, he's a little stress monkey.
Yeah, he is.
He didn't want to
He didn't
want to make it. Okay, it makes total sense because Betty is a social worker.
Yes.
She makes connections with people, and she's trying to find a way to make a connection.
And they talk to her, and she talks to them. Yeah. And he didn't want to talk. He wanted to keep his eyes closed.
He wanted to keep it. He wanted to shut down. This is not happening, and I'm going to forget all of this the second after it happens.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so I just keep going.
Okay.
Just I'm like,
keep formulating those thoughts
because the aliens don't seem like they're out to harm anybody.
They want to examine. And I think, and there's a lot of when I was doing the research, a lot of theories was that being an interracial couple, they were actually more intrigued by them than anything else, that one was black and one was white.
Yeah, so maybe they were thinking that human beings might be different species because we're different colored.
Who knows?
I don't know. Ooh,
who knows?
That's
but
an interesting
they
theory.
seem very intellectual, so I don't know. Well, Barney recalls being guided out of the craft with his eyes shut until he reached the car. When he slides in, he can see Betty being escorted back as well. He recalls it wasn't that bad, and he had nothing really to fear. He claims he saw a bright moon, but refers to the spacecraft. Then he laughs and says, "Well, there it goes." As they drive off, Betty giggles and asks Barney, "Do you believe in flying saucers now?" To which Barney responds, "Oh, Betty, don't be ridiculous."
What?
He recalls all of that.
That's so weird,
man. After they concluded their hypnosis sessions, Dr. Simon concluded that all of Barney's recollections were due to Betty's dreams from 1961 and was able to feel real to him. He didn't doubt what they felt and didn't think they were lying at all, but that it was more of a quote-unquote psychological condition.
What a jerk, dude.
Betty was frustrated because she completely disagreed and thought the hypnosis sessions actually validated the dreams that followed the incident.
Yeah. I don't like the hypnosis doctor.
I mean, I would have believed them after all of that in separate sessions.
And they had, like, she had evidence. She had the dress.
Yes.
Like, and I don't know if all of the pink stuff was off the dress. Did they ever figure out we're going back to the dress?
I'll go back to it eventually.
Okay. All right.
Barney was sort of on the fence about everything, but he eventually came around to believing the hypnosis did help to recall actual events that happened, but he didn't care to admit it like Betty did.
Right. Betty's like, yes, total validation. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
I know
like,
everything's pieced together. And Barney's like, nah,
sure.
Maybe my ulcer will go away.
Exactly. Even though Dr. Simon and the Hills did not agree, the hypnosis sessions did ease them from their long-standing anxiety from the initial encounter in 1961. They kept to themselves and wanted to go back to their normal lives.
Yeah.
Barney had many speaking engagements for the massive civil rights movement, and both started their busy routines again. However, that was difficult to do. August 1965, apparently, a friend of Betty's sought out John Luttrell, and he was a writer for the Boston Traveler. It's a newspaper, big newspaper. Right. Told him everything she knew about Betty and Barney's UFO sighting and hypnosis sessions.
Was this chick trying to like get some money?
Probably.
She's like cash grab.
Yeah. Pretty mean. Then Luttrell contacted the Hills and asked to interview them, but they were mortified he already knew and refused to meet with him.
Well, yeah.
They pleaded with him not to run anything about them in the paper, but alas, they were ignored.
I would be so pissed at my friend if they did that.
Right?
I'd be like, no, you're not my friend. That's
when you're
not
telling things that I don't want spread about. I told that in confidentiality.
Yeah, that's my story to tell. That's my story to get out. Okay, I have some weird like I don't know, this has nothing to do with it, but like I've had experiences because all right, so I've lived in very different lives, you know, I've had many lives up to this point, and so one of my past lives I worked in Malibu.
That's right.
And I worked at a pet store in Malibu. I worked at an animal hospital in Malibu.
Yes.
And there were celebrities all the time, and then I actually worked for a celebrity as a dog walker.
Yes.
For a time. Yes. And I also hung out with some of these people as well.
Nice. Okay.
I can't tell you how many times, and this was like pre-TMZ. So I think TMZ was just maybe starting, but it was just other tabloids. I can't tell you how many times people from tabloids would come in.
They contact you?
And yeah, they'd come into the stores or wherever I was working and be like, do celebrities come in here? And I'd have to say, they're everywhere in Malibu. So sometimes, they come in and then they'd be like, can you contact me when they come in? I'm like, no. And then a lot of times paparazzi would show up. I remember one time Pam Anderson came in to the pet store and we just rushed her to a room in the back because all these like photographers are following her. Gosh. But yeah, I mean, that happens. And then one of the stories that I wanted to kind of share, I was hanging out with some people who I will not name, but I was hanging out with some people that were known. Yeah. And there was some celebrity, following and stuff. And one of their friends like sold them out on something. And as soon as that happened and as soon as like the story started to break, he was like gone. He was living with them in this house. And
that's even worse.
Yeah. So that's why he knew all this inside
Don't
stuff.
Bite the hand that feeds you.
Right?
Yeah. That's messed up.
He's a celebrity now too.
Oh, no.
His initials are SP.
Okay.
And this was, back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
We'll just put it out there. I know. You're like,
I don't know.
I don't know. He was a pretty shady character. He was a shady character on TV too.
Okay.
But like he would sell stories
that's messed
to
up.
The tabloids about his friends.
Terrible.
And it sucked.
Yeah, that's
it was
not
so
cool.
sad.
Stupid people.
Yeah.
Trying to get famous for doing stupid things. I hate that.
Yeah. So this is that touches close to home because like I know people
that
that
it sucks. Terrible people, man. It's not worth it. Well, October 25th, 1965, the Boston Traveler newspaper spread their story on the front page titled UFO Chiller, Did They Seize Couple? Not only was it on the front page, it was a 5-part series
about
their encounter as well as their hypnosis sessions. Yes, this really stressed the Hills out.
I bet.
And apparently, Luttrell was interviewed by a radio station days after the newspaper was published, and he argued that the Hills abduction story should be under consideration, but that there was a fine line between privacy and the public's right to know.
Oh, BS.
Right?
He's just trying to get a big byline and become like famous and move up in the ranks.
Yeah. He did want everyone to know that the Hills did not contact the Boston Traveler to tell their story and that it was quite the opposite. So at least he said that. That was nice.
Okay, but
still,
it doesn't matter because the story's out there.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm sure it's some exaggerated version of what really happened to them.
Exactly.
Because they aren't setting the record straight, and he's got to sensationalize everything. It's just BS. It makes me so mad, Nicole.
I know. Me too. Me too. The Hills were then thrust into the spotlight, and everybody was fascinated with their story as they were the first American couple that reported being abducted by aliens. The Hills were not quite happy with the inaccuracies, just like you said, in Luttrell's reporting. And since the cat was out of the bag, they decided to sign a book deal with writer John G. Fuller to ensure their story was told correctly.
Yeah. That's kind of the only way to go about it.
Exactly.
Oh,
The Interrupted Journey was published in 1966, and basically the Hills became rock stars in a way. They were participating in speaking engagements, media appearances, and even Barney was on the show to tell the truth in December 1966. I saw a clip. It was pretty fun.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And of course, when you have anything that has to do with unknown and mysterious topics, such as UFOs, you will have plenty of skeptics.
Oh, of course.
Most thought the Hills made up everything. The government obviously didn't help either. As I mentioned previously, the Air Force reported it to Project Blue Book and wiped their hands of them.
Yep. Deny.
And what did not help the Hills is the fact that no other witnesses came forward to seeing what they saw that September evening. Although Boston writer Luttrell did happen to interview roughly 12 to 14 people in the White Mountains who happened to claim seeing an unidentified flying object the same night.
Yeah, because those people are like, oh, I don't want to suffer the fate of the Hills. Nope. I didn't see anything. Nope. Wasn't me.
So he had their statements in a folder. And when he left the Boston Traveler, he gave that folder to his editor. And wouldn't you know, the file disappeared.
Of course it did.
But some claimed the stress of being an interracial couple, like I mentioned before, at the time of such social injustice bore so much stress on the Hills that they thought they experienced an abduction.
Oh, BS.
Exactly. Another theory that came later in 1990 was that Barney's memories under hypnosis may have been influenced by the television show The Outer Limits, specifically the episode The Bolero Shield, which supposedly was aired only 2 weeks before Barney's first hypnotic session. The episode was about an extraterrestrial with large eyes and even says, "In all the universes, in all the unities beyond the universes, all who have eyes that speak." But someone did inquire with Betty if they watched the show, and she insisted she never heard of it.
That makes sense to me. It doesn't seem like
they would watch
it.
No.
And it doesn't seem like they would have time to watch it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't seem like if he had this experience, he would want to watch anything.
No, I wouldn't want to watch any.
He's Mr. Nope, nothing happened.
Yes.
I'm shutting everything out.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
The most compelling evidence, though, as I mentioned way earlier, was Betty's dress.
Yes, the dress.
She had it examined throughout the years since there were stains on it. Whenever it was examined, the results of the substance was and remains unidentified.
Of course, because it's not of this world.
The dress and all documentation pertaining to their case was given to the University of New Hampshire's library archives. I really wanted to check things out, but you can't. You have to go there. And so everything is there.
It's not online?
No. Everything is in their archives.
Okay, so when we do a road trip, we got to go to New Hampshire and
I want to see
the
it.
library.
Yep. Sadly, Barney's health deteriorated and he suffered a cerebral hemorrhage in February 1969 and
Barney.
died shortly at the age of 46.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
Barney.
very early. Betty was deeply saddened by Barney's passing, but she continued her quest to find more about their abduction and what's out there in the universe. She decided to look further into the star map that she could recall the being shared with her. August 1969, Betty met with Marjorie Fish, an Ohio school teacher, amateur astronomer, and member of Mensa, and they discussed the star map with her and that she had drawn the map in detail under post-hypnotic suggestion. Marjorie commented, Betty described the map as three-dimensional, like looking through a window. The stars were tinted and glowed. The map material was flat and thin, not a model, and there was no noticeable lenticular lines like one of our three-dimensional processes. And then in parentheses, it sounds very much like a reflective hologram that she was looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, right?
Very cool.
So after trying to analyze the star map, she believes she found the system where the beings came from.
Oh, cool.
Zeta Reticuli, a faint pair of stars that are 220 trillion miles away.
Wow.
So Betty's drawing, and then this is where they kind of tried to figure out. Okay.
Yeah.
People were astonished by the similarities, but the data on some stars were not accurate enough to make any definitive conclusion. The magazine Astronomy published the findings in 1974, and notable people like Carl Sagan argued the map was just a random alignment of chance points. Unfortunately, just prior to Marjorie's passing in 2013, she did determine that the binary stars within the pattern were too close together to support life and decided Zeta Reticuli was not where the beings had come from after all.
Oh, man.
So for a long time, this incident was called the Zeta Reticuli incident. But now we kind of said, no, unfortunately, we don't think that's it. So we have no idea where they came from still.
Okay.
After many correspondences, research, etc., Betty retired in 1991 after becoming disenchanted with the UFO community. Mm-hmm. She told her niece, Kathleen Martin, that there were too many kooks who knew too little about the UFO field. Yeah. They accept fantasy as if it were reality and distort information to fit their own purposes.
Yeah.
Later, she produced a memoir that, with the help of a friend and her niece, entitled A Common Sense Approach to UFOs.
Aww.
In 2004, Betty sadly died from lung cancer.
Oh, Betty.
Yeah, she smoked a lot.
Yeah.
Lastly,
okay,
The Hill's Tale was made into a movie called The UFO Incident, aired in 1975, and starred James Earl Jones.
Hey, yeah. That's cool. I want to watch it. I love James Earl Jones.
Very old school. You'll see it. Yeah. It's on YouTube. So you
Is it? Okay. Okay. Cool.
Their story also provided material for both the X-Files episode, Jose Chung's From Outer Space, and the alien-themed NBC series Dark Skies, both broadcasted in 1996. And Netflix will be releasing a movie based on Betty and Barney Hill called White Mountains soon.
Oh, cool. Have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you with more drawings and a sculpture that they created.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow. That's so cool.
So that's Betty and Barney Hill.
Thank you for this story. I love it. I absolutely believe Betty and Barney Hill.
Right? I do too.
I mean, the way that they're going about their experience and how they're processing it. Like at first they were like, we can't talk to anybody about it because we don't know. We don't understand what happened.
Yeah, they had missing time.
And Betty's confused. Like, I have to process it this way. And Barney's like, I have to process it this way, which are very normal reactions. Mm-hmm. And not wanting to talk about it or broadcast it publicly until they had some answers.
Yes.
And the way they went about finding answers makes total sense. Like
going
under hypnosis.
I left out. She actually, a few days after the incident, she even went to the library to start looking up UFO things without telling anybody. She just wanted to do some research on her own because she didn't know what to process.
And it makes total sense. Yeah. And the way that they wanted to continue their lives and
just drop it after they figured it all out.
Right.
Yeah. But they couldn't.
It makes so much sense. They couldn't because
friends, man. Not friends. Friends
okay.
Not friends.
Moral of the story. If your friend tells you something in confidence, it is their job, if they so choose, to disclose that information to whoever they want.
Exactly.
It is not a juicy bit of gossip that you've been entrusted with that you get to go tell everybody.
Especially a newspaper.
Don't go selling out your friends, dudes. That's not cool.
But in a way, it did kind of help because we wouldn't have known about this as much, I think. It wouldn't have been sensationalized. And
so how many people out there do you think that are sitting on their own experiences that aren't telling anybody?
Oh, many. Because I can see that. Why would you want to be ridiculed by people who don't believe? So,
and then
how do you know if it was true or not? Because your memory is all messed up and you don't remember everything.
And this totally fits in with my understanding of aliens, that in all the stories that we've gone through, they aren't trying to harm us.
No.
They're just studying, they're observing,
exactly.
They're figuring out what it is that we're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny though, even I didn't bring this up in the story, but before this happened, before 1961, apparently our views of UFOs and aliens were friendly, that they would just come and visit. They were amongst us. Like they were just cool. But this one, they kind of brought to that light that they want to examine us and understand us.
Yeah, but so I don't think
they didn't hurt us.
Yeah, I don't think it was unfriendly because as soon as they realized that, Betty was in pain, they took the pain away from her.
That's true. They could have left her alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, it was invasive the way that they wanted to study, but they didn't harm them.
No.
Nobody tried to eat them.
No.
They tried to examine them peacefully. They did walk them on peacefully.
Right.
You know?
But still they had to interrupt their lives to do it.
They had to interrupt their lives to do it. Yes. That was unfortunate. But it seems like, I don't know if they put amnesia on top of them so that they would forget, if that was like a magic. I don't know what else to call it, but it seems like they're very good with mind things. If they were able to communicate,
part of the mind.
If they were able to communicate through telepathy,
right?
It seems like they were able to, like, we're going to block this part of from your brain, and so that's why they had that big time lapse.
Right.
But they were able to figure it all out through hypnosis and unlock that part of their brain.
Exactly.
So it's not really magic. They just have that.
They have keys
parts
into
of
our
their
brain.
Yeah, they have those parts of our brain that we probably have because we don't know how to unlock all of our brain's potential.
Exactly.
So they're probably unlocked a lot of their brain's potential and they're able to communicate in that way. So that's really, it's so fascinating. But like, I still think that even though this was a more invasive encounter,
it's not harmful.
It's not a harmful encounter. It was more curious and science-based. Exactly. They weren't trying to hurt anybody.
No.
They put them back.
Yeah.
You know, they
took samples.
We just want to see.
They didn't rip off their clothes. They actually asked them to help take off their own clothes. Yeah. They were trying to.
And then once Betty engaged with them, they were happy to talk to her and happy to engage with her and happy to like share. I wish they would have given her the book though.
That would have put the nail in the coffin because we would have
that would have solidified everything.
There you go. But even then, skeptics would be like, "Oh, you
made that book. Up. Yeah,
that's all on you.
Yeah,
how do we know that's real?"
And they get and I'm like, why? And we had an actual, hi Kate, I'm giving you another shout out. We had a listener actually answer a question that I put out there at the last episode. I'm like, why people refuse.
Exactly.
And she was so brilliant with the way that she brought it out. She talked about how I should pull it out. But religion.
It's a big point of that is religion makes us think that we're the only beings.
Yeah. We can't
have anybody
understand that they're, and it was really interesting because like I grew up in an area of Texas, and I think I talked about this before, but I grew up in an area where it's Texas. It's part of the Bible Belt. There's, people are very Christian there, but at the same time, it was also NASA. I'm from Houston, right? So a lot of my friends' parents are astronauts. They've been to space, they explore the cosmos. A lot of my friends' parents are engineers. My dad was a NASA engineer, so space is like big there. So it's like, how do you reconcile that and religion at the same time? So it was a really interesting
that is
area to grow up, how you reconcile science and religion at the same time.
Sure.
And it's like very compartmentalized, but the way that I think about it is I'm like, well, religion is what we used to explain things that we didn't understand. And science helps us understand those things better, but they can still very much coexist. It's just science is like, we have a question. We're going to try to figure it out.
Evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to figure it out through the scientific method and figure out, you know, what's going on here. We're answering questions that we have, where religion was like, we don't understand how to do this. So we're going to approach these through allegories and through, you know, stories to help us understand and connect with things. I don't think that they're separate camps. I think they can absolutely commingle.
I think that religion, though, in a way also just is to help us as human beings get along.
Yes.
That's really what I feel like, but I know a lot of people don't because they look at and they scrutinize. But anyway.
Yeah. And,
you know, we don't want to get too deep into that.
We don't want to get too deep into that. And I have a lot of issues with organized religions as well, because we are human and we're people and we interpret things. Same thing with the alien experience with the Hills. People interpret things the way that they want to, that makes sense to them. And so they take bits and pieces and they misconstrued everything.
No, we can go way into that. And I don't want to.
That is way too serious for this podcast.
No, back to aliens.
But anyway.
But Betty and Barney Hill. These poor
are
people.
National treasures. Yeah. And I love them. And I'm sorry that you had to suffer through so much
ridicule.
Public ridicule and people like poking into your own personal private experience that should never have been brought to light.
And they wanted to be just honest and truthful with their encounter, and they just wanted to tell what happened to them.
Well, I believe you. I believe that you were taken aboard a ship and examined. And Barney, I'm sorry it caused you so much stress.
Poor guy.
And I'm sorry that you died so young. 46. That's my age.
Yeah. No, that's so sad. Don't think about it. No. It's just, I think all that stress and all the, you know, all those factors just kind of contributed to that poor guy.
So I'm so sorry, Barney. Yeah. I hope you're having peace where you're at and you are hanging out with the aliens.
Yay!
And, you know, like everybody's buds now and we're all good. But wow, what a story, Nicole.
What a story. I'm so glad I got to tell that one. And that one, that's one of my favorites to listen to. There's so many podcasts and so many things out there. I don't think I told Angel, but just to get so much as I could into this, I did a free subscription of Discovery Plus because I did an episode on it.
Sweet sassy. That's so cool.
It's like, I gotta watch this because I want more details there. And I didn't read the book. I should have got the book, but I didn't read their book. I wanted to, but I did read reviews that a lot of everything online right now has a lot already from the book. So I think we're okay. I think I covered as much as I could. If I missed anything, if anybody else knows more details about Betty and Barney Hill, let me know. Let us know.
Yeah. You can email us at theominousstitch@gmail.com. You can also jump over to our little webpage and see all the pictures and all the notes of everything that we've talked about today. It's on podbean.com and look up the Ominous Stitch podcast. If you so choose, there's also a little button you can click to become a patron. Yay! We love our patrons.
Yay! Thank you, Kate. Thank you,
Brittany. Thank you, Kate. If you guys want to become a patron, and maybe we'll make you a little tea bookmark like I made for a little tea bag bookmark for Nicole. We would love to send you stuff. We want to connect with you guys. So get a hold of us either through our email, theominousstitch@gmail.com, or you can comment on any of the social medias. We're everywhere. We love engaging with you. We love talking to you. If you have any ideas for stories, if you want to share any cute craft or crochet or cross stitch, anything that you guys
even
are
knitting.
working on.
I'm not good with knitting, but
neither of us knit, but I love the way things look when they're knit.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Cool. You know, we want to see what you guys are doing. We want to connect with our community. So this was another amazing episode. So much fun. But we have one more thing that we need to talk about.
Nope.
It's movie time.
This week's movie review, Nope. Released in 2022. IMDb rating of 6.8 stars. Synopsis. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, That's where
watch
we saw
it. Yep, it's free on Prime right now. I have been waiting to see this movie because I didn't see it in the theater. I know Nicole did. It's like the second it came out, she went to see it. And I wanted to see it because, you know, you guys know we live in Southern California. This was filmed basically in our backyard here. It's not too far from where I live. There a lot of filming happens there. There's a place called Vasquez Rocks, and they shoot a lot of alien things here, and that's in Agua Dulce.
Star Trek is the most well known.
Yes,
I remember that.
So that's Agua Dulce. That's where they filmed this.
Yes.
And I've been out to Vasquez Rocks. It's so much fun.
Yes,
it's a really cool place to run around.
I don't think in the movie they show the Vasquez
They
Rocks.
didn't show the Vasquez Rocks.
They show the exit to Agua Dulce.
Yes,
and that was it. And
that was it.
The drive-in and
yeah. But the gulch that they were in was so cool. I was like, oh, this is so cool. So
cool
pretty
area, right?
Yeah. So this movie,
Jordan Peele
slays again. I love Jordan Peele's movies.
Yes,
I loved Get Out.
Get Out's one of my favorites.
Yes.
I didn't watch Us.
I haven't seen that one either.
I've heard about it, and I read the synopsis, and I know what it's about, but I have not seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
But Nope was, I mean, this is, and he even mentions it. Peele mentions that this was kind of right after COVID was finally, like, we were able to start going out and seeing movies. So he wanted to go big, he said.
Yeah.
But this hit you weird, right? Because
it was weird.
The Gordy show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You kind of have to, like, there's lots of different levels. This is
layers.
It's an onion.
Yes. Yes.
There's lots of layers to this movie.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it starts off with a scene and you're like, is this part of the movie?
Yeah,
what's going on?
Is this an alien movie? No, it's not.
It's nope.
Nope. You figure it out later. But yes, it's a monkey, a chimpanzee
that goes wrong in a TV show, and you know, he was pushed too far.
Yes,
and he
slaughters.
Yeah. He just causes havoc and
chaos,
slaughters, and, you know,
yeah,
not a good thing while the show is being filmed. So there's an audience there, and
and one of the main characters that's a kid in the show himself, Jupe, that's his character's name. You follow his character later on because he's still kind of piggybacking on his famous life as a kid.
Yeah. So the way that chimpanzee thing ties in is that he was in that show with the chimpanzee.
Right.
And the chimpanzee, after going on this rampage, he's hiding under a table. And this gets revealed later on in the movie. The chimpanzee finds him, and you think he's going to rip the kid apart. But, you know, the kid is fine because, you know, you're seeing him as an adult. All of this is just, you know, backstory. But the chimpanzee reaches under the table due to a fist bump, which was their whole thing.
They apparently came up with the first exploding fist bump,
right? Yeah. So then I think from that moment, he felt that he could tame anything.
Yes.
And so he's always chasing that.
Yes. And he's still scarred, obviously, from that whole experience.
So emotionally scarred.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about that experience, he very
so
much
jokingly,
glorifies it. And it's like, dude, that was
he
trauma.
explains the whole SNL skit that they did based on the fake SNL skit.
Yeah.
But man, it's intense because you can tell he's still scarred by it. But like Angela said, so spoiler alerts. The alien, they make a show out of it in the Star Ranch. And he thinks that he can tame it by feeding him horses every Friday night.
He thinks he can tame
a big alien creature.
Yeah.
Which is
predatory alien creature.
Because he feels like he got lucky with Gordy.
Yeah. So. He felt like he can understand wild creatures.
Right.
The flip side of this are the Haywoods.
Yes.
And so what's the actor's name? I love him.
Daniel Kaluuya.
Kaluuya. Yeah. I love him.
Yes.
He is I just love everything that he's in.
Yes.
He was in Get Out. He was in an episode of Black Mirror. He was in Black Panther.
Right.
But he's a great actor. And Keke Palmer, who I know I keep hitting the couch. Sorry, Nicole.
It's okay.
And Keke Palmer plays his sister.
Yeah. And I like her name, Emerald. I like that name.
I do.
Emerald.
I think that was cute. Okay, Keke Palmer. I love her. I love her energy. I was telling Nicole, it takes me a while to like get on her frequency because the way her voice is pitched, it's really high when it's loud, and when she drops down into a lower octave, it's harder for me to go from those two frequencies. So it's hard for me to like understand her. It takes me a little bit to like catch on to her levels and her frequencies.
They're funny.
But I love her energy, and I think she's great. And she's great in this movie. Yes. I love
she's great.
The way she moves through this movie. I love the way she ends this movie. Yes.
She's good.
Keke Palmer is a freaking rock star. I love it.
But did you know that Gordy in the movie is actually an actor, but they follow his movements? Terry Notary. So he is Gordy.
Oh,
and he apparently was in like Planet of the Apes, and he's really good at getting into that animal characteristic. Isn't that cool? I didn't know that.
Well, I was like, this is not a real.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
I thought it could have been something else, but no, they did it as
that's so cool.
Yeah,
that's really
cool. They put it over, but
But
yeah. So Daniel Kaluuya, his father was Haywood.
Keith David, who I saw do a dramatic reading of the Christmas Carol.
Oh,
it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love him. He's awesome. He's such a great actor.
Yeah, but he's quickly in this.
Yeah, he's in and out quickly.
Yeah,
but the Haywoods have a very different approach because they're animal trainers.
Yes.
So like that's their whole thing. So that dichotomy between Jupe and the actual animal trainers and learning how to deal with this alien entity.
Daniel
they have
Kaluuya
very
picked that up.
different approaches.
OJ,
really OJ.
Which I thought that was pretty funny joke.
Your name is OJ? I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Otis Jr.
Yeah.
But the dichotomy and him knowing how to handle. He puts it all together. Smart guy.
Yeah, very smart. Because he understands animals.
Yes.
He understands the psychology behind how to approach
wild animals.
Yeah.
That have territorial issues.
Right. so that he was, very smart about it. And, and it was a cool movie.
Yeah,
it was
it's a different alien movie, a different approach
to an alien movie,
and it's still creepy. I mean, there's some scenes that freaked me out when they're in their house in the middle of it, and then it comes over the alien comes over their house, and it just starts raining.
Yeah. And
you hear the screams of people.
Yeah.
It was so creepy. I didn't like that.
No, and the way the alien changes towards the end, I'm like, I don't understand how this thing
that's the only thing that I don't like. It turns into this being of
it looks like a balloon,
sheets and
sheets and balloons and stuff. I don't know how
it's
it
really
opens
scary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, how I don't understand how you're
a creature,
but whatever we don't know.
No, that's a cool different take on what a cool crazy predatorial alien is,
right?
But I did like, who was it? The guy that worked at Fry's.
Oh yeah, the guy who played Angel. Yes,
I love how he described how what the different types of alien UFO encounters are, and I was like, oh, I'm glad he put that in that the UAPs, which is true.
Yes,
it's crazy.
They're not UFOs anymore.
UAPs
changing it up.
And I thought that at least they were still bringing in those concepts, even though this was more about, as we were talking about, exploiting and wild animals and wild creatures, right? I think that's more of his overlying thing.
That's what it is. Yeah, you can't tame a wild thing. I mean, there was that, I wish I knew what the quote was, but they had that quote at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the Bible verse.
Yeah, about taming wild animals.
So it's from the Old Testament. I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle.
See, that's what Jupe is trying to
do,
sensationalize with the alien.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to mention, I was talking to Angela. So even though Peele doesn't mention it, the whole Gordy situation, if you remember, in 2009, there was a an actual famous chip named Travis that this couple took in after its mom was killed, and they tried to treat it as a child, and they dressed it up. They, treated it as their own, like a human being, but it ended up mauling their longtime friend, Charlotte Nash. And her injuries look exactly like Mary Jo's in the movie. And apparently she was on the Oprah show, wearing a very similar hat and veil to what Mary Jo was wearing.
Oh, interesting.
So you gotta say that
that's a little nod there to
exactly.
that. Yeah.
But
I remember when that happened. That was a scary.
Yeah, very sad. I mean, and again, you can't tame wild animals. I'm sorry.
They're always going to be unpredictable.
Yeah, because they're wild.
That's very true. So how many stitches would you give this movie?
So IMDb gave this, 6.8? 8. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was telling Angela the first time I really didn't enjoy it as much. The second time I really did. So I think I'm going to give it a 7.
A 7. Yeah. I had to watch it twice.
We're old.
I can't stay awake and watch movies at night, especially like if I get comfortable on the couch and I'm snuggling the hubs, you
stop moving.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, yeah, my day's done. You fall asleep. So I definitely fell asleep during Nope. And the pacing of it is a little bit more calm and a little bit, so it's, it's not like thrilling. I mean, you have moments of where it's like thrilling action.
Yes.
But yeah, I fell asleep.
That's okay.
But the second time around, I got more out of it. And so
how many stitches?
It was good. I would give it, I kind of agree with IMDb, 6.8. Okay. It wasn't my favorite, but it was good. And I think if I watch it again, I'll probably find more things that I like about it.
That's what happened to me. I was able to pick up way more at the beginning and start understanding everything.
And it's kind of fun because, anytime a lot of things are filmed in LA, but like when they're filmed kind of close to where you live, you say, I know where that is. That fries is in Burbank.
Yeah. It was fun seeing those again. So
yeah. That was good. So I would say that you definitely can't stitch to it because there's a lot of visual things.
Yes, I tried. I started cross stitching and I was like, oh, I can't look. Oh. So I kept looking up and I said,
so my test for things being for being able to stitch to is if there's a lot of dialogue, I don't have to see what's going on because I can hear it. Yeah,
that's true.
And
this one they don't.
There's not a lot of dialogue
right.
It's visual. You have to see.
True.
You have to watch the horses run. You have to watch, what happens to them.
Him watching or looking through the cameras.
Yeah, looking at the clouds.
Yes.
And,
Oh, so good. I like that part. Well, yeah, I enjoyed this movie, though. I'm glad we got to review it for this theme.
I'm glad I finally got to see it. Yay! So, guys, go out and watch Nope on Amazon Prime. All right. So, it looks like we've reached another end of another amazing episode of the I'm Gonna Stitch podcast. This is so fun. This is so great. I love talking about aliens.
Yes.
I love learning more about aliens and visitations that people have had. It's fascinating to me.
Me too.
And I can't wait to do more of those.
Yeah, see, I'm going to sprinkle them in as many as I can.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for this week's episode.
Yay.
So until next time, we'll see you, Stitchers.
See you, Stitchers.